Okay, good morning.
Recording in progress.
I'd like to call the Town of Naples Ordinance Review Committee meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. In attendance, we have Larry Anton, myself, Martina Witz. We have Kathy Eddy and Kathy Tombarelli from the Code and Municipal Planning Office. We had a few excused absences. I don't know about the rest, so we'll see if people join us. So we have, it looks like a really full agenda, but I think we're really on top of it. Thank you for all the memos and
I just did
everything.
it to make sure I was on track.
Yeah. Oh, the minutes. It's not in the packet. Were they sent? I don't remember reading them.
I don't think so. So table.
So we'll
we can
table the
those.
December meetings. That's okay. Okay, so the first thing for today is the new phosphorus stormwater language for the subdivision ordinance. Suddenly it just escaped me what SD stood for. So this is language, because we've had a lot of subdivisions come to the planning board as of late and talking about just stormwater and things like that. I'd actually asked Colin Holm at LEA, and he had noticed that there was like an absence of any kind of comment about phosphorus standards in our subdivision. So this is language that he suggested, I believe.
Yes.
So this would be an additional paragraph in there. I don't know if I should, maybe I'll just read it in case anyone's watching.
Sure.
Phosphorus loading from development shall be limited. Phosphorus control measures shall meet the design criteria contained in the Maine Stormwater Management Design Manual, Maine DEP et al., March 2016, or as may be amended. The board shall require the reasonable use of vegetative buffers, limits on clearing and minimizing street lengths, and shall encourage the use of other non-structural measures prior to allowing the use of high-maintenance structural measures, such as infiltration systems and wet ponds. So that would be a simple paragraph that would be added as a section 1007.15.
What I like about it is it does still leave some flexibility in there, but it says that they need to meet the Maine Stormwater Management Design Manual.
Right.
The question is where should it be housed? And I thought, rather than repeating it twice, just putting it in the general requirements for subdivisions on 1007. That way, that's what those apply to both major and minor subdivision.
Okay.
So at some point, I'll print out a new ordinance if you already haven't done so already with the changes.
So you want to put it under general requirements?
Yeah, it just kind of makes
Okay.
sense to me because I think it's generic to all subdivision. It says reviewing, the first sentence is reviewing applications for subdivision of land, the board shall consider the following general requirements. So to me, adding it as a 14 makes sense.
As a 15.
15, I'm sorry.
Because there is a 14.
Yeah,
You
new
put
15, sorry.
New
Adding it as 15. That way it doesn't have to be duplicated in two places.
Right, because we would be looking at section 107 regardless of the size of the subdivision.
Correct.
Okay. That makes sense. Larry, do you have any comments on that? Okay. So I think that's pretty simple then.
I think it's simple. It gets you
use
guys,
that.
puts you guys in the driver's seat a little bit more. I mean, you still have the ability to waive certain things or be flexible, but they have to meet the standard, which basically means that they have to trade 60%.
Right.
And I guess at the same time, we should be talking about on the 26th at the town select board meeting, they're going to be talking about that policy that's on the agenda, the policy which would allow the town to collect the funds, the 60%, the same amount that they would if they had triggered MDEP review.
Okay.
And then the town would uphold it. The tricky legal, I'm just going to talk to the select board on Monday about it and see if they're okay with that. The tricky part about it is the way that it's set up right now is it's supposed to be set up, used in the watershed that the project is in.
Right.
And the hard part is some of those watersheds don't have a lot of town roads, right? So
But you could use it for a private road.
Potentially, yeah. So that's the question.
I mean, personally, I think you should, because the private roads are
ones that are
highly
best.
likely to have like
Yeah.
culvert issues and things like that, and where it's really expensive for a private road association to repair
Right,
those.
Right, so then following through is how would the mechanism, how does that work?
There'd be an application. I
Application, we
think,
need to have an
yeah.
application, a mechanism on, and
And Colin had said he would be willing to help with that.
help with that, yeah. So basically what the select board is looking at is just having a policy that we'll be able to collect those funds, just like LEA does for the state level.
Right.
And then we'd hold on to it, and then there's criteria for what projects could be used. And that's in the draft policy that was sent to the select board.
Okay.
So it's related, I just wanted to mention it because it's related to this.
Right. Could you just send a copy of that to me too, that
Sure.
draft policy? Could I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I thought you were on that, but you might not have been.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not
I'll
if you
send
sent it to the select board, I don't think I
Okay.
got that.
Oh, I didn't send it to you. I wondered if
Oh.
Colin had sent it to you.
Is it exactly what Colin had suggested, the
Yeah,
language? Oh, then I
it's-
have
yeah,
it.
exactly
Okay,
the same.
Okay.
I had one
Larry,
question.
Sure.
Limiting the length of the road,
Yeah,
that would depend on the property where it is.
yeah.
You know, if you're developing something on a lake on this end in the middle, and there's no development here, no development there, does the board have the authority to determine the length based on the individual property? There's no fixed limit.
Yeah, I think right now there is not. That's going to be a bigger conversation for November, the next round, about road standards, length of dead-end roads. And we're definitely going to be looking at that. We started that work already for looking at private roads and road standards and length of roads and number of dwelling units and all that good stuff. And after talking to the road commissioner, Steve, we decided that was a much bigger project than just changing the table. So we're gonna have to look at the driveway standards. Because I asked him, for example, what is a driveway in Naples and how many houses before it's a driveway and a road, you know, and we couldn't answer that. And so, I mean, some towns say the fourth dwelling unit creates a road, not a driveway. So what's a road, a street, and a driveway is very unclear to me. So I think it's a bigger project, and part of that project will look at the length of dead-end roads. And maybe it can be a long dead-end road, but you gotta have a turnaround every 1,500 feet or for rescue vehicles. But I think what this is saying is let's try to make less road, as little as road as possible, rather than having too much road. So I think it's generic enough that the planning board will get it, that, hey, is there an opportunity not to have such a long road here, type of thing. So could we have some shared driveways, that type of stuff.
Is that okay? Yeah, okay. So we're all set with that one for you to present that on Monday that way?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one is the ADUs in the shoreland zone. So this
Again.
would be an update. So we're always fiddling with ADUs. So this is the first time we're looking at this, so you want to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. So we're not in compliance, and we've had a couple people call us saying, well, you have to let us do ADUs in the shoreline zone because the state says you have to, which is true. However, in the shoreline zone, unlike outside of the shoreline zone, you can treat them like an additional dwelling unit, not an accessory dwelling unit. So you can apply the dimensional requirement, and the biggest one is that you have to have twice the land. So you have to have enough land for basically 2 houses in order to do it. So I think we have to get rid of the word prohibited, because right now ours reads within the shoreline zone, accessory dwelling units are prohibited. And for some reason, when I print this out, it doesn't show the strike-throughs. I had struck through prohibited and put allowed. And then I added the language for any lot fully or partially located in the shoreline district, accessory dwellings must independently comply with all shoreline zoning requirements. For a single-family residence to establish an ADU, the lot must have twice the minimum lot area and twice the minimum shore frontage. So it makes it clear that, yeah, you can have your ADU, but you're meeting the dimensional requirements.
And what is that now? I should know that, but I
In
think I know
shoreline,
what it
it's
is.
60,000.
Okay.
So you would have to have 120,000.
Okay. And the frontage, I think right now has to be 200 or 3, what does the frontage have?
It's 200 in shoreline. 200 feet? 200, yeah, so you'd have to have 400.
So it'd have 400.
So the thing about it that's kind of silly is basically you have enough land to split the lot and have two houses, basically.
Yeah.
But if you want to put an ADU on the same lot, now you're gonna have to keep it to 800 square feet.
And there's no language in here that we could say that this is not a short-term rental or anything like that?
We can't do short-term, we've been told not to do a short-term rental yet.
Right, I know,
Yeah.
but as far as ADUs go, not in general. I mean, again, I go back to the whole thought that the whole ADU discussion as it came down from Augusta
Yeah.
was because we wanted to improve the housing stock for the people of Maine.
And you can put that on ADUs.
Because didn't we do it, we said for the, we had a minimum of 60 days. Remember, we were going back and forth?
Hold on, let me get to 507 here, see what it says.
Is it all in 507?
Yeah.
Or no, that's just the shoreline zone. No,
Yes.
all accessory dwelling unit stuff is in
507,
507,
yeah.
right? There was something in here.
I'm looking.
Or did we have to, were we told we had to, no, I know we put that in, because here, 90, no, where the heck is it? Larry, you remember that conversation, don't you?
Yes.
I was initially pushing for 120, and then we settled on 90, because somebody else wanted.
Accessory
60.
dwelling
Yeah,
units may
what's
not
it,
be leased.
One at 60,
Yes, it's 507G.
30.
507G. So accessory dwelling units may not be leased or rented for a period of less than 60 days. I thought we had 90, but all right. No, we do have 60 because I think somebody wanted 30. Okay, evidence of such as deed restriction recorded at Cumberland County Registry of Deeds shall be included with the required registration form submitted to the code enforcement officer. So that does apply to
Yeah, it would
everything?
apply, because this is, I'm suggesting to put, all we're changing is 5071, the
Okay.
first line, by saying they are allowed, and then with this new language, so that it would still apply, so it's in
Okay.
there.
All right, because the thing that made my radar is that you said, well, people were calling and wanted it in the shoreland zone, and I could just imagine they
Yeah.
wanted it because they wanted a rental,
I have to
for
say-
short-term rentals.
I have to say, most of the people are looking at for family,
That's great. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what the whole ADU thing was designed for.
because it's not inexpensive to
Right.
do this. So
Right.
most of them are looking for family members to be able to stay.
Yeah.
But I get
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
So it's already in there,
Yeah,
which is
okay,
awesome.
that's good, okay. All right, then, do you have any questions about this? then?
No, the fact that you're requiring twice the amount for a single
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
And I checked
And that's
to make
okay
sure.
with the
Yeah, I
state?
checked to
Okay.
make sure, and I checked other towns in there.
Okay.
They went back after LD, whatever it was, there was a follow-up one that allowed people to apply more standards in the shoreland
Right.
zone.
okay.
You don't want to end up looking like North Sebago.
Or just looking like the way things did in the 60s when there were no, when you're just on top of each other all over the place.
Or Winnipesaukee, yeah.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Okay, the next one is final review, 700 sign ordinance table and standards.
So I went back and I have the chart and filled in what we talked about at the last meeting. And Larry, what this is we decided that it would be easier for people to be able to just look at a chart to see what's permitted and what's not. And so we took Martina spent a long time going through the ordinance and coming up with each kind of the sign, and then what was permitted or not, and where there was blank areas that we were unsure if we were looking to put in a sign, for example. We talked about it and decided whether it was appropriate or not.
Yeah, so this chart is based on all the language that was already in the ordinance. I just put it in chart form.
Which is super helpful if you're someone that wants to know if they have to have a sign. They just
Right.
go to the chart and look at it and say, yeah, it's allowed, or no, it's not. And then Martina had drafted some language for, there was nothing in rural zone. So what was happening, I'll give you the example, is someone wants to do a home occupation in the rural zone. We had no guidance as to what the size of the sign could be, how many signs, what types of signs, there was nothing. And so the code officer was basically, well, I guess they're allowed, And so we decided that we probably needed to add some standards for residential, because they'd already had standards for village and commercial and light industrial sign standards, but we didn't have anything for residential or rural.
And I'll tell you what I used to create this. I mean, so I started off with the village because we had discussed at the meeting that we thought it should be at least as restrictive as the village district.
Right.
And then I took a look at what is actually permitted anyway in the rural zone?
Right.
So what would you actually even need
Not
a sign
much.
for? So there's really
Yeah.
not much. I mean, I was really focusing on things like a place of worship, or, I mean, so imagine if there's a church or a community, maybe not even a community living facility. I'm just thinking like a home occupation, which then falls under the home occupation sign stuff. But really, if you look at the list of what's permitted, it's pretty much like a place of worship. I don't even see what else there might need a
Right.
sign, so that's why I
Other than
even
things
said.
that have been grandfathered.
Right, but that's
And
why I
then-
also said you don't need, if you're gonna have a freestanding sign, I didn't think you needed an A-frame sign or this and
Yeah.
that, just really kind of limiting it.
Right, it's a residential area.
Right, it's real, yeah.
It's designed to be residential with some home occupations.
So, did you have a chance to already read that?
Yes, I read last night.
Okay, did you have any suggestions, or did you find any boo-boos I made? Because you're always good at finding typos. I'm not gonna read this whole thing now, it's just.
No,
Like, or-
what it does is allow people that have a home occupation or
Yep.
a pre-existing business or a type of business that is allowed in the rural zone to have a sign.
Yeah.
Is what it does. And before, it was just very ambiguous, and we didn't know what standards, and so I think that the code office had been falling back on the commercial standards, which is not, I think, what we want in a rural
No, I don't
zoning
think so.
district.
And again, I'm really, like, I took my cues from what's permitted anyway, like what kind
Right.
of a thing would be there, what kind of an activity, or, and it's really not a lot. I mean, none of these things, you know, a multifamily dwelling doesn't need a sign, a commercial tower doesn't even need much of a sign, other than what we would say, probably some safety sign or
Right.
something. You know,
Right.
these aren't things that you want to have a lot, you know, drive a lot of people to.
Right, and most of these is basically, you know, people, they have one or two customers, you know, and the customers have GPS now.
Right.
It's just nice to have a sign to know where you're supposed to
Exactly,
park, or where you're
right.
supposed to enter, or that type of stuff.
Right, and so that allows for all of this. I did have one thing about the flags, and I always have a difficult time with describing flags, because I didn't want to write this in any way that someone would think that they can't put up a US flag or a state
Yeah.
flag. So I wrote no on 1C, no banners or flags related to the commercial enterprise are permitted on the parcel, other than one open flag, which may be displayed during business hours. So
I think that
does
works.
that explain what I was trying to
think that
say? I
works.
mean, I wouldn't want anyone to think that I was saying, that this was saying we didn't want them to put up
American
an American flag or a state flag or something.
Yeah. No, I think that works. Make sure that you're not hindering someone's freedom of speech,
Right.
basically,
Right.
or expression.
Right. So are we all good with that one then?
I thought it was great.
Okay,
What about short-term for rent signs?
short term.
That would fall under temporary sign, I think.
Yeah. Are you looking at the chart?
Hold on.
They permitted them,
So temporary signs are permitted,
yeah.
and then I think we have to think what the definition of a temporary sign is.
Yeah.
And temporary has a definition of a sign constructed of paper, cloth, canvas, plastic sheet, cardboard, wallboard, plywood, and other like materials, and that appears to be intended to be displayed for a limited period of time.
Yeah, a temporary sign would be allowed, and it wouldn't require a permit for rent or for sale or any of that
Right.
kind of stuff. That wouldn't fall under something that would require a permit.
Are you thinking of that sign on 114 for that Airbnb? Just because we drive by it every day? Is that what you would, something like that? Because that's not temporary now.
Yeah, it
that's
should
there.
be taken down. if
It's there.
Can't be out there all the time. Especially since we don't force them to register as a business.
Right.
And the state won't allow us to register them as a business.
So it shouldn't be there, is what you're,
And they didn't
it's
get
in the,
permitted.
it's in the residential, rural, whatever,
I mean,
114
technically,
one.
they should apply for a sign,
Yeah,
you know, even though they're not technically a business, they should still apply for a sign permit. Yeah. Always the loopholes, isn't there?
yeah. Did you have any other comments?
No, not really. Pretty thorough.
That means a lot coming from Larry. Okay, then I guess that one's ready to be presented to the select board then. Okay, final review of ski slalom course standards.
So I just made the changes that were recommended at the meeting we had last time, and that was to add the word typically under the definition, typically spherical, because they may not always be spherical. And then to add not being within 200 feet of invasive plants, that was new.
Right.
We struck, I think, D because it repeated the whole thing about the 200 safety zone, which was already mentioned in B.
Okay.
So I incorporated all of Colin's comments, and then there was a question about enforcement. There is an enforcement section in the marine, or the mooring and waterfront management ordinance. It's section 11, we'll move that to 12.
Yeah.
And it does give, if people ignore this ordinance, it does give the harbor master the ability to consider it a nuisance, and then they can issue a violation. And then it would be up to the select board to take legal action or go to court and levy fines.
Okay.
But there is an enforcement component to it, which ought to be interesting this spring. So yes, there is an enforcement section.
Yeah. So just for folks that might be watching at home, so what this does is, as we said, it creates a new definition for what a water ski slalom course is, and also the buoys, and then it identify some standards or create some standards on where you could have this and where you could not have this. And this is like precipitated by an environmental issue that's happening currently that we hope to avoid happening anymore or reoccurring someplace else. So this would be new.
My only comment, are we saying they can put the slalom course anywhere? Can you put it in front of private property?
They already are putting in front of private property. I mean, they're doing it in other towns too. So what we're trying to do is, and that's regulated by the state. The state have to apply to the state for some sort of license or something to do that. What we're trying to do is keep them out of the milfoil. You know, we don't have regulatory control over it, other than, this is, I'm not gonna say experimental, another town has done this, but this is language recommended to us by LEA. We took a look at the state statute, we took a look at what other states are doing. We took a lot of different things and came up with an ordinance, and then Colin at LEA reviewed it and made some slight suggestions. So we're basically establishing this, and we're gonna give it a try. It's basically see if we can keep them out of the milfoil areas instead of throwing money at a problem and then making it worse by allowing this type of activity.
So I guess if you're outside the 200-foot safety zone, it's not, I mean, it's public
Right,
area
it becomes
anyway.
public.
And the fact that it needs to be permitted by the Naples Harbor Master, I mean, I think he would review it in terms of like how busy that section is. I mean, there are areas that, while they are outside the 200-foot safety zone, would not be a good place to put it.
Like, right.
So
Yeah,
I think that all comes into
yeah, I think.
in the same way, like if someone's placing their own permanent or their own mooring, I mean,
Right.
he also, you know, that has to be placed in an area, even though that's within the 200 feet, but still,
It has to
things
play-
are taken into consideration, what's happening in that area.
Yes.
I think it's a great step in the right direction. I think it would be awesome if Naples could take the forefront on something like this.
Well, I'm sure that
Yeah.
other people will copy it.
Yeah.
If depending on how it plays out.
Do you have any other
No,
questions, concerns?
no, you're putting a lot of emphasis on the harbor master.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and if it's commercial, it needs to come to the planning board.
Right.
And they also need a business permit from the select board, and they would only get that after the planning board and/or the harbor master.
Right, and that's for commercial. I mean, that wouldn't be.
Yeah, that wouldn't be.
a club or just neighbors
Right.
that want to do it for fun or whatever.
Right.
We've talked about tying it to ownership and stuff, and it just got overly complicated.
Yeah.
It just seemed more to tie it to the environment at this point would probably be the most important thing.
Yeah.
And then see how it evolves from that.
Right. And I think I think it's also harder to tie it to ownership if you're outside the 200-foot safety
Yes.
zone too, because
Yeah.
it is, it's a great pond, it is everybody's,
It's public.
so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not like I'm putting a swim raft out or something, or putting my
Right.
boat there. Obviously that needs to be tied to something.
Do we allow jumps as part of the slalom course?
I don't know if they have a jump. I mean, this particular operation doesn't, but I hear what you're saying.
I'm not sure it would make a difference as far as the thing that we're really trying to address, and that's don't put it in a milfoil field, in a place where milfoil's growing. We're not really even addressing a safety issue here in any other way, other than it has to be outside the 200-foot
Right.
safety zone. That's the only safety feature of this. It really is about keeping it out of where milfoil's growing and trying to be mitigated.
Right. I think that this is definitely something that may get amended at some point where we could include that, but I'm not super concerned about that right now, just
Yeah.
because the whole thing is to try to get this out of Sebago Cove,
Right.
where it's not appropriate. But it is a good point. I like how you think.
Yeah, well, so, I look at it, it's easier to put something in
Yeah,
when nobody's doing it.
yeah.
What kind of safety, so what you're just suggesting we consider, like a slalom course shouldn't have a jump?
A series
Or
of jumps,
They should what?
a series of
A
jumps.
series of jumps,
You know.
yeah,
Come 4 or 5 feet in the air and then plop down and keep going. And
yeah.
Do it again, yeah.
I mean, I'm inclined just to leave it the way it is right now, only because I really want to have it focused on, I think the argument is easier to make about the environmental factor than not.
We used to have a slalom course on Tricky Pond for years.
Yeah,
It was done by the association, but McGlone was in charge of it.
yeah,
And eventually it just died.
Yeah,
Nobody wanted to do the work.
the work.
yeah,
Putting it in, taking it out.
Yeah.
right.
We could potentially add it to the water ski slalom course, just a series of slalom course buoys, flags, markers, or jumps set in a zigzag, or set, you could
Oh.
add it there.
It might even make sense to add it there now that you say that,
Yeah,
because what if somebody just made the whole thing out of jumps and they
Jumps,
say
yeah,
it doesn't
right,
apply?
right. So
Yeah,
put it
zigzag
in,
pattern or jump.
Or
yeah,
jumps.
or jumps. Yeah, we can put it
Like
after
here.
zigzag pattern or jumps.
Okay.
And that way you at least included it in the list. Because
Okay.
you could see someone just saying, okay, well then we'll just put a jump out there.
Okay, yeah. Okay. You may have just identified a loophole, Larry. Okay. So we're all set then on that one?
Yeah.
All right. So a brief cannabis ordinance discussion.
So I never did hear back from the attorney, she's got too many things going on, but I thought about what you said, Martina, and I think that I sent you this huge packet last time, out of an excessive paranoia, because of where I worked before in Gray, we were kind of the central off the turnpike, when people were really looking to locate there. So we really over-defined everything so that we made sure that you understood we weren't doing X, Y, Z. You're right, our ordinance does say if it's not listed as an allowed use, then it's not allowed. So I thought what we do need to do is change all our references of marijuana to cannabis, just a base level, because that's how the state refers to it now.
Okay.
And then just add, even though it's already in each zoning district, that if it's not listed as allowed, it's not allowed.
Right.
Just adding 614.4, medical and recreational retail storefronts are prohibited in all zoning districts. Making it clear that we're not doing retail.
Okay.
Period. Because that question is coming up, people are thinking about changing their medical marijuana grows to retail marijuana. They can sell, obviously, if they're a caregiver, to their patients.
Right.
With card-holding patients, but we're not doing retail storefronts.
Right. So
And
this,
the language in each zoning district says, hold on. Let me find all uses specifically noted as permitted in section 504 are all uses not specifically noted as permitted are prohibited without an amendment to this ordinance.
right.
And the only thing we have listed as allowed in the zoning districts are medical marijuana, registered caregiver, subject to the provisions in 614. We're going to change that to medical cannabis registered caregiver.
Okay.
So I think that that just gives an extra layer of, no, we're not doing retail
Right.
for
Okay.
the time being, just to make it clear.
That seems like a simple, concrete fix there.
Yeah, I just think it makes it, echoes it twice
Right.
in each zoning district and in the actual cannabis ordinance, saying that we're not, all we're allowing is the medical caregiver cultivation.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even, yeah. I'm not
I just
even
wanted to
down
keep
that.
it simple.
No, you're right. And I don't even know how you would justify a recreational thing under medical if you only can sell to a limited number of people. It's not even a,
Right.
it's basically a home.
Well, they changed it to medical and recreational to medical and adult use, but which adult use seems dumb too, because it's only legal for adults, right?
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's not legal for
So
non-adults.
it's either, to me, it's either recreational or medical.
Medical,
And medical, you
right.
need a card.
Card.
And in Naples, I don't know if every place, but in Naples, you're limited to,
The certain amount of
Certain
patients, a certain amount of plans, which is
Right.
in 614.
Right.
Yeah.
right. Okay, but this is just a good double.
It just gives me an
Double check.
extra layer of just,
Yeah.
I can point, because it's clearer.
Right.
You can say, no, it's not allowed.
Should this be anywhere in the definition?
We already have the definition for.
But this last
Medical.
section that you're just putting in there's medical recreation storefronts are prohibited. Do you want to put, should we put anything in the definition about that too?
Of what a medical marijuana storefront, let's put this
Right.
and see, I hear what you're saying, hold on.
I'm just kind of thinking outside the box.
Is it under marijuana? What's it under?
It's under the.
It's a medical marijuana registered caregiver cultivation area and a medical marijuana registered caregiver.
Which are the only two that are allowed.
So there's,
And then
so
you
you're
got
saying,
medical marijuana plant canopy,
Yeah.
so you're saying, Kathy, that we need a,
like underneath maybe the cultivation area, maybe it's something about,
we need to define storefront? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's
To-
what I'm wondering. She might be right about that. I have those definitions in the packet from last month,
All right.
so maybe we need to add.
I didn't bring that. I don't.
I'll add a definition and send it out to you guys by email.
Okay.
I'll just use the state's definition for retail
Okay.
storefronts and make sure they use the word storefront. I grabbed this from another town.
Yeah, so that whatever we put in this right here
Yeah,
should
it
be
needs
in
to
the
match the
definition.
definition.
Exactly. Yeah.
Definition.
because I'm just thinking, cover all the
Yeah,
Yeah,
bases.
that would give it
good.
three
Yeah.
layers of no,
Okay.
unless someone decides to change it later.
Maybe change it.
Yeah. That whole curve is happening in real time anyway. I mean, if you've noticed in some towns, some of them are closing up because
Yep.
the bigger ones are winning, you know.
Yeah.
It's all
Well,
a-
it's free market.
It's free market, that's right. That all of it is evolving, let's just
Yeah.
put it that way.
Some towns may start with 20 and now they're down to like 10 because they've been caught out.
Competition.
Yep.
Larry, do you have any other? Okay, and then you're just going to do a search and replace on all the,
On the,
Okay.
yes, and I have to get that
Okay.
ready for the select board. to
Okay.
Put all, and for the, right.
okay. All right, so that was all the work on stuff.
That's
Okay.
all the stuff that we still had, at the time had some, but I think I still got some more, so we gotta keep going.
Yeah. What, so all the other stuff is already done, right?
Kind of.
Okay.
I thought it was, and then I went and looked at it again
Okay,
and went
okay,
through all
so
my notes.
battery energy storage
That's
system.
done.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's
done.
done.
Okay,
Food sovereignty, we talked about that a while ago.
Yeah.
And got kind of a little bit in the weeds, and then I looked at the definition that the state has, and they actually are allowing baked goods, sandwiches, or other meals now, which is not, I don't think, what we wanted to do. So everything that's underlined is, the first part that's not underlined is what we have for a definition, we end up vegetables. And then the state has added honey, nuts, maple products, or condiments, any combination of those items, such as baked goods, sandwiches, or other meals that are provided in a direct producer to consumer transaction. I thought that we were looking not to do the baked goods, sandwiches, and meals, because that sounds kind of like a restaurant or a bakery,
I know,
right?
we were trying to remove the things
That-
that could potentially be health hazard.
Hazard, yeah, 'cause you
these
have to
people
prepare 'em.
these people are exempt from being
For
inspected.
the kitchens and stuff, right?
How do you protect the consumer? Is what you're
Yeah.
looking at. You know, if stuff spoils readily and they have it out on the counter,
Yeah,
you know,
We don't know about refrigeration, we don't know about their
Right.
kitchen, we don't know anything. So I thought we don't add that, but maybe add the honey, nuts, and maple products or condiments, because maple sugar, candy, that's all, I think, related to being produced on a farm, and I think that qualifies. But I don't feel like the prepared foods really meet the whole idea of this, and it also feels like that there's other people that have bakeries that would have to compete, and they have to meet all of those standards, right? So,
Right.
for example, Sea Bagels that bakes bagels, they have to meet all these standards, but you're saying now that these people can do that. And not only that, who's growing wheat in their yard, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not.
Right.
So it's not really of something that's grown there. You're adding other ingredients.
Right.
So I think my suggestion for that is just to add the honey nuts, maple products, and condiments, and not add the rest of the state language, and then just leave it alone for right now.
So not add or any combination of those items?
Yeah,
Just get
don't
rid of
add
all.
that.
Okay.
And that way people can do, have bees, and that type of stuff.
Right.
I think that would be good. And I don't think that, our former code officer was more stressed out about this one than I think that we were, to be honest with you, because she'd run into some kitchens that were doing the baked goods. So I think just making sure that we don't include those, which it doesn't right now, and then we just have to say, nope, that requires you to you're a bakery.
Right.
You're gonna have to get a different kind of permitting.
Right. Okay. Is that good with you? Yeah, okay. All right.
This
Moving
one,
right along.
me and you, I think both, Martina, keep on thinking that it was approved last time, but it
I
wasn't.
know.
The mixed use, we just
Oh.
worked on it so long ago, but it wasn't part of the last round of approved. It's on for this meeting.
Oh, okay, all right,
And that's just to allow the mixed use in commercial zones. So that one is done.
okay. Farm stand new definition.
Yeah, we had a new
Discuss.
definition, and that's a little bit related to food sovereignty in that, people need to be able to have a farm stand to do that, and we don't want them to have to go to planning board to do a farm stand.
Right.
As long as it doesn't exceed 200 square feet, and it's only selling farm, garden, greenhouse, nursery products, Christmas trees, garlands, wreaths, things that they grow and do right there. I did add the part about, we had talked about farm stands and associated parking area cannot be located in the right of way. And we, remember last time we talked about adding something about cannabis, that you can't be selling cannabis out of your farm stand. And that comes out of another level of paranoia that we had, because we had that happening in another town where people had a farm stand and they were also selling marijuana at their farm stand. So just wanted to make it clear. The one thing we didn't talk about that I could see in my notes is which zoning districts is that allowed? Is that allowed in just rural, and even though we don't have a critical rural yet, we have it in our ordinance. Are we allowing it in commercial? Are we allowing it in village? Are we allowing it in other?
Well, I mean,
Not in shoreland.
right, no, but if it's a farm stand, I guess I
Yeah.
go back to what are you doing? It's a
Right.
farm stand. I mean, you don't have a farm right on 302, right?
Right.
And I was just always also thinking, should we add, you cannot sell cannabis or any alcoholic beverages? Because some people brew beer, like my husband.
I'm not so worried about that.
But are you?
Oh, yeah, I guess people do brew.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we add cannabis
Or,
in any form or for medical or recreation use or alcohol. I guess we add it, why not? Can't hurt. No home brew.
Under farm
So-
stands,
Yeah,
Christmas trees. I think most of the Christmas tree setups are going to be more than you're calling for the footage. The trees leaning against uprights.
yeah. I don't think they're limiting those, I don't think we're trying to limit those. I just think we're trying to say that farm stands they do occasionally sell those types of items. I've seen that. Or we could just strike that.
and, but it says, I was thinking about 200 square feet of floor
Oh, yeah,
area.
you're talking about,
So
yeah.
this is the
Yeah,
structure,
the
any kind of
structure,
structure
yeah.
you put up, so you could.
You could still put up racks.
So this would allow you to
Yeah.
So
have
not
something.
including
So, Yeah, it's not including
Right.
Not
that,
including display area.
because this is floor area selling only. Yeah, so floor, I'm envisioning some sort of a little shed hut
Little
thing.
shed.
Hut that's
And then if you
built.
want to put racks out to sell your Christmas trees seasonally, I don't think anybody's gonna bother with you, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I'm not super worried about that. I'm just more worried about them making sure they keep it out of the right of way, that there's some place for someone to park, and that it's only things that are grown.
I mean, I feel like it should, I mean, my gut is that it should just be in the rural zone.
Rural or critical, even critical. I think critical
Yeah.
rural is okay too. I mean, the difference between
Yeah.
rural and critical rural, if we get it through
Right.
the comp plan and then actually implement it, is 40,000 versus 60,000 square feet. You know,
Okay.
but people are still gonna have farms in
Right,
critical
right,
rural.
okay.
So
Yeah, I don't think of that very often because we don't really use.
Yeah, it's not really, it doesn't really
It
exist
doesn't
even though it
exist.
exists. Yeah, yeah.
Only in our mind.
Yeah, well, I think we might as
okay.
well just put it in there since it's in, in that way, if we do adopt a critical rural ordinance, it's already there. Or zoning.
I mean, I'm just trying to think where, yeah.
Residential
I just-
growth,
I don't,
because there's a lot of things that you can do in residential growth. You know, we got home occupation, manufactured housing.
But it's already
Home
home
tied.
occupation prohibits you from having stuff outside for just, I thought
Yeah.
there's some other limitations on home occupation.
And it's also tight down there already. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got non-conforming lots.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it just seems,
And
And
we
there really,
definitely-
a lot of it is
commercial,
neighborhoody, like with associations and things like that. so
Right.
that-
right.
But
You're
that would
definitely not village.
be up to the person to
Right.
get, I mean, if they wanted to do a farm stand and they were in an association, that would be up to them to show that they have permission.
I think in the rural growth areas, if someone's going to do something on a regular basis, that maybe it is a home occupation,
Yeah.
not just a farm. I don't know, that's a good question though.
Yeah, but then we have some other rules around
Around
home
home occupation.
about how much you can have
Yeah.
outside, or if you even can have stuff outside.
But at the same time, I hear what she's saying is that you hate to, someone that's in rural growth area, you just can't have a farm stand,
And they may have the land.
And there might be someone that
grow,
has 2 or 3 acres and they're growing stuff.
and they want to sell it.
We didn't talk about this at all the last time.
I'm just,
Because commercial and village, we can get why we wouldn't do those, but that one's the only one that sticks out in my mind. I know we always think of it, people got small lots, but we're, like Kathy just said, somebody's got a larger acreage.
so farm stands will not fall under home occupation at all, because they have to be, so the occupation or office must be wholly located within the principal or accessory structure.
Well, it'd be,
Well, or would this shed thing now
gotta
be
be
an
an accessory structure. It is an
Okay.
accessory
All right.
structure. I don't see it as a home occupation because it's just a short term. It's seasonal.
Well, but we don't have that in the
Yeah.
definition.
Yeah, that's
Which
true.
brings up another point. Is a farm stand a seasonal thing? I mean, or a time-limited thing? Because some people in the rural zone would go from having, and I don't see anything wrong with this, would be having their farm stand in the summer with their produce, and then they maybe move to Christmas
Tree,
trees
or
or
wreaths.
wreaths or something. So it's not really, unless we make it time-limited,
I don't
this
really
does
wanna
not
do
make-
that.
I don't either. That just gets very complicated.
So I think keep it simple, it's just a question of whether or not rural growth area, well, we have to remember our residential growth areas are changing too.
Well, I think what we're trying to avoid is somebody having a farm someplace in the rural area and then setting up shop someplace else in
Yeah.
the commercial zone.
Yeah.
That's not a farm stand.
No.
That's now a retail
That's
outlet.
now you're competing against other bricks and mortar people
Right.
yeah.
If I walk out of my house, I had just gone to my garden, I walk out of my house, I go to my farm stand and I put it up. That's the farm
Right.
stand, not driving somewhere.
Right. I think we all want that. We all
Yeah.
want a farm
Yes.
stand. We all want that.
Yes.
Right.
That would be something to talk about later, which would be something like a farmer's market. That would be another classification where maybe it would be appropriate to have a farmer's market on the village green, once a
Yeah,
month.
and that is time limited.
And that is time limited
permitted.
and space limited, and
Yes.
is it on town property or is it on private
Yeah.
property? And you
And it
need to have an application.
Right.
It's a bigger project.
So that's
but
different, but
Some
this is
towns,
some-
a lot of towns do that, but that's a whole different animal. Maybe
I mean, I'm just thinking, if you went beyond rural,
Yeah,
let's just talk about what is defined, I don't have my zoning map in front of me, this is not zoning, is it? So pick a residential neighborhood, I mean, is
the
Madison
green.
Heights rural or residential?
it's in the rural, I think.
So that's rural.
Yeah.
So it could happen there,
In Madison
unless their
Heights.
neighborhood association prohibits it.
So I think maybe we just leave it out of the growth areas in general, because the growth areas are supposed to be one for residential growth and the other for commercial growth.
Right.
And this is what we're talking about here is neither. It's meant to be a farm stand promoting people's hand-grown, handmade, hand whatever
Right.
stuff. So maybe we just keep it in rural and critical rural for now.
I think
I
that-
hate excluding people though, from,
I know.
like, let's say someone has a couple acres in the rural residential growth area and they have beehives and they want to sell their honey on a farm stand. Are they really hurting anything?
Could they not do it under home occupation?
Could, say they could, so maybe they have another out, they have another, that's true. Let's just keep it the way it is for right now.
Okay, so.
And if we have 10 people show up and say, I want to have a farm stand and I live in the growth area, then we can
Right.
revisit it. I don't think that's gonna happen.
So right now it is allowed in rural and critical rural? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Are you good with that, Larry?
Yeah.
That around the bend conversation. Those are the best ones sometimes, though, we look at it.
And
Okay,
E, we already took care of, F, we already took care of, G, already took care of, and H, we already took care of, and I. That was my comprehensive list.
Oh.
So there's actually 9 ordinances on the table for this round. A through I.
okay, and so what's happening now, so today is January 21st, so we just did
Yeah.
that. So select board presentation is Monday, the 26th.
That's correct.
And so all of these that we discussed
Yep.
are being presented. And, oh, did you get my rationale? I sent that to you for the battery facility. Did that make sense to you?
It makes sense,
Okay.
yeah. So
I mean, just
I'm
to
gonna-
have for your own,
I'm gonna create a memo today and tomorrow for the select board, just so they'll have it on their desk. I'm not gonna give them all the strike-through language yet, because we're
Okay.
not there yet, but just to make sure that there's a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Okay.
Then I have to go through the ordinance and find all the, references to marijuana and do that, and do the
Okay.
strike-through document. Because they're not voting on a warrant yet, we're just making
Right.
sure that we're on the same page.
and then we have another meeting on the 18th of February.
We
And
do.
that will be when if there are any changes,
Yeah, finalize the
when they
language.
finalize. And then the planning board hearing is going to be March 3rd for
Yeah.
all of the ordinances we just discussed?
Yes.
Because they're all related to, some way or another, to planning board stuff, right?
Yes, we're not looking at things that weren't
Yeah.
even really in our purview this time.
Right. And then the select board would be voting on putting them on the warrant on March 9th?
Yeah.
Or TBD, but you think probably
I think
March
it's the
9th?
9th, yeah.
Okay. And then the final warrant articles to town clerk on March 19th? And
Town
then-
meeting is gonna be the 19th.
But that's the
in.
in-person town meeting?
That's the in-person, no, that's the secret ballot for school board.
Oh, that's the secret ballot?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's when we're voting on it?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
doing it for, because they're coinciding the comp plan, the ordinances, and the school budget all in one election. That way Michelle doesn't have to do two different elections.
Okay.
And there's a higher turnout as well.
Right, which is great. So nothing's happening on May 12th, because I had in my phone, May 12th.
It's May
is the
12th,
town-
do they have to vote for your
Or
officers?
Is that the town, in
That's the
person?
town, in
That's the
person.
town person?
Yeah, in
Town
person,
per-
and then she has to have the second section within 10 days, I think, and so that's why they selected those dates. So I think at the 12th, you'll be doing the in-person town
That's the,
meeting.
okay, because I had that in my phone
And
already.
where you
Okay.
vote for your officers,
No.
board members.
All we do is the budget on May
All we do
12th.
is the budget?
That's it.
Wow, so you're doing the other secret
It's
ballot
all
too?
secret ballot.
Okay.
May 19th is also,
Well, I guess we won't be having a
Planning
planning
board.
board meeting then.
Yeah, we'll have to cancel it
Yeah.
on that night.
Okay. All right. Great.
so as I'm looking at it going,
So there are some, so then as I said to you, so I can, these dates are good then, because I know the people in Sebago Cove wanted to follow this along, so I can share these dates with them and everything, okay. What else?
And then, well, the next section I have is the ones I postponed, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Street mobile vendor ordinance, I just still haven't had time to work on it, to be honest with you, and it's one of those ones that we think that we really just need a map, and we need the select board to look at the fee schedule. I really don't think we have a lot to do.
Right.
I just think I need more input, and nobody's been talking about it lately, so we
Right.
kind of just dropped it off. ZIF definition standards for cell phone towers, again, we had that overly complicated, super long ordinance. I don't know, I just don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Subdivision roads, that's part of a bigger project. I think that's part of, and when I started looking at it too, there's just so many references in the subdivision ordinance that we would have to change as well. We'd have to define the new road standards. And we also talked about, is it based on length of road, number of dwelling units? You know, and I would like to really nail these down so that the planning board isn't in that situation where you either have to have sidewalks or you don't. You either have to have something or you don't, instead of asking for waivers. So make sure we have the appropriate road standards based on either the number of dwelling units or the type of, you know, maybe it's more based on if it's connected to main arterial or if it has sidewalks, you know? I just think it needs more thought, and I don't want to make it worse by just slapping another one in there and making it not clear. And I think that on the table that we have right now, it's not super clear whether, is this a private road or is this a public road? And I just really want to make sure we nail it down. And that's why I'm making the subdivisions put on there, this road is to remain private, because I could see them making an argument, yeah, but we met one of these 3 standards that's in your table.
Right.
We think that's a public road, right?
Right.
So I just want to make sure we get it right, because.
Oh, and I think it's good for the people that are potentially buying these lots that they
Yes.
understand that that's what they're getting into. That
Right.
this is, you know, in perpetuity is going
It's
to be their
forever.
responsibility.
Your responsibility.
Yeah.
So I think I just want to really nail those standards, and when I showed what we had, right now, Steve's like, yeah, that's not enough asphalt, that's not enough, you know, and so I think we just need to have some time. We also want to be reasonable, we don't want to make something that makes it very difficult for someone that just wants to do a 3-lot family subdivision, right? And can't wait the 10 years or 15 years or whatever it is to do it.
Yeah.
So I think it just needs a lot more thought than I was prepared to give at this point. After the comp plan's done, and then I'll have a little bit more time to.
Right.
But I
And we'll
just
have
think-
some more direction too, once
More-
that gets
exactly.
approved.
Exactly.
And maybe on a day that we're gonna discuss private road standards, maybe we invite the road commissioner
Yes.
or the deputy road commissioner to kind of come in here and tell you kind of, you would need this, you need this, you need this, you know, and it kind of gives you an idea as well of what is expected.
Yeah, and the culverts, there's just so many other things that we haven't really dealt with, the stormwater and all, you know what I mean?
Well,
And-
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of experts that we could ask
Ask
to come.
to
I mean,
make
even
sure.
LEA, because they're doing their culvert replacement projects
Yeah.
with grants throughout the entire area, and/or Cumberland County Soil and Water has an
Yeah.
engineer that they could provide some.
They would
because
be
we don't
great,
really have an
too.
engineer that works for the town, so.
And the other thing is that, like on the widths, some of our widths might actually be too wide. Do we want to really create all this impervious? You know what I mean? It sounds
Yeah.
nice to have this big, beautiful road.
Right.
But maybe on a smaller subdivision, they don't need to have this big, beautiful road. They don't want that much pavement. And
Right.
so I think just making sure that we're in the right ballpark. Because that's the trend now, is that people are doing less pavement.
Right.
Versus, then you have less phosphorus, less stormwater, less everything to treat. So I just want to make sure we get that one right, and I think it,
On the subdivision thing,
Yeah.
I was thinking, how come, I don't think we have it in our ordinance anywhere, is that, I know we have, when someone comes for a subdivision, we say, if you want to do any other changes or whatever, you need to come to the planning board again. But we don't ever say, I don't think, that you can't subdivide this again.
right.
And I know other communities do. So I guess I'm getting to the point, is like, we go through this whole exercise on
Yeah.
these major subdivisions with these nice sized lots.
Yeah. And then they.
And then they want to come back and
Yeah.
they make them smaller and re-subdivide them.
Yeah.
At what point do we say, done? You know, like the planning board can say, you're not subdividing this any further. Or do we not care? I mean, I think we care.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with the zoning, which is really hard to go back later, but when I came here, I was really shocked that all the zoning districts are 1 acre. I'm not saying that's a bad thing in certain zoning districts, but most towns have 20,000 in the village.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
you
they're
got
barely,
40,000.
they're 40,000 square feet. That's not really even a true acre.
It's an acre, 40,000, less than an acre.
Yeah, it's less than an acre.
Most towns have an 80,000 square foot And then
Yeah.
some towns even have a 5-acre zoning districts.
I know.
And critical rural or really rural. And so that dictates what you can do. So it's really hard. One thing that you can do, and I kind of said something last night a little bit about that, is that we really do, and this is on my list of things that I didn't list for next round, is net residential density. We should really be starting out with, this is the gross amount of land you have. Now you need to deduct out all the wetlands right off the top.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
Right off the top, take those out. Now
So
divide it
at
by.
what point do you think we need to work on that? Because I think that's.
I think that's our
Because
next round.
this 10% and they
Yeah.
just throw,
All the
whatever.
wetlands in it.
That's not what the
It's not
spirit-
usable open
it's not,
space.
right.
It's not, nobody's ever gonna walk on it.
Right.
And that's the whole, so the question about it, do you have access to it, is stupid because nobody's ever going there to walk on it.
Yeah.
So I think we need to start the net residential, which should be on every subdivision plan right in the front. This is the gross area minus the wetlands. And then now you're starting, that's how much land you have to work with. And also poorly drained soils, steep slopes, the area's not suitable for development. Subtract those right off the top. Now divide it by 40,000, and then that's gonna get to you what you basically are saying, less lots on this
Okay.
piece of land. It's really hard to say, no, you can't subdivide it further, because when you got someone that's got an 8-acre parcel and a 40,000 square foot zoning district, right?
Right.
On what grounds is the planning board saying no?
Right.
Really not much.
you-
So I think just
okay.
getting that
But something,
going
because I know
from-
that, to your point, other communities have much larger parcels and they say right on the D, I mean, I own properties in other
Yeah.
places and it says right on the D, I can't subdivide this, you know?
There's, Auburn has
Yeah.
25 acre zoning
Yeah.
districts in
Yeah.
agricultural zoning where you can't
Yeah.
even put another house on it.
I mean, the only thing
Yeah.
that limits that kind
Wow.
of thing here is that you can't have like a back lot, what they call that, right? You have to have road frontage, so
You have
that.
to have frontage.
So that kind of helps a little bit, but,
All towns do that though, and then you
It's
can
not-
use the right of way as
yes,
frontage.
right.
So you still
Yeah.
have enough back, but what they can do is limit the number of back lots because of safety. Because,
Yeah.
for example, if you have 2 back lots, it's, in a lot of towns, 3 dwelling units is still a driveway, so the driveway standards are a lot lower.
Okay.
So some towns have said no more than 2 back lots. We're not gonna have this windy road that goes into nowhere.
Right.
So there are things that you can do, but I'm more worried about, I think it would be a heck of a lot easier to deal with the environmental issues if you just get rid of that land right off the top.
Right.
Because then they're gonna have less lots.
right, no, that's.
And I think that open space is, you're supposed to preserve open space, but the idea is the wetlands we should be preserving anyway.
Right.
And then you should be preserving additional open space, and it should have some sort of value to the residents. They can go out there and take a walk, go out
Yeah.
and do whatever, you know. And in some cases, the residents decide to put in a field or a playground or whatever. Well, you're not gonna do that in a wetland.
Right.
So, and I have some other things that have been brought to me. So that's the NRA, net residential area, net residential density conversation. Had someone ask about complete streets policy, which I think that feels like an after the comp plan thing.
Complete streets?
Complete streets.
Okay,
Complete streets policy, basically, I think that's related to our road standards, basically says that if the town of Naples or a developer is going to build a new road, not existing roads, that they have to have a complete street, and that goes to sidewalks and pedestrian amenities. Doesn't mean that you have to follow it to the letter. It's a policy that helps you get qualify for some grant funds. And it's also a policy that when like MDOT comes through to do fixing anything, that you can say, hey, listen, our town has a complete street policy and we're requiring developers to build complete streets with pedestrian amenities in these circumstances. Why aren't you adding a bike lane or a sidewalk to this section of the road? You should be doing that too, because this is our policy that we follow. It just gives you a little bit more leverage on projects. It doesn't have to be super complicated. A lot of towns have done it as part of that net zero, where they're trying to eliminate the pedestrian and vehicular conflicts.
okay.
Something to think about. I just got an email from the town manager in New Gloucester that they're doing it. I think I'd started it and then nobody wanted to finish it, but there is a group that's really trying to push getting more pedestrian-friendly amenities. Just something to think about. It also gives you a little bit of leverage when you're talking about speed limits and stuff like that. Say, hey, you know, we have police policies where, if we ever get the sidewalk out to Route 11, which is the end goal, you know, then anytime the state or town's doing something, they should at least be thinking about those things. Crosswalks, that type of stuff. The other thing that has come up is I've had several marina owners talking about boat storage. And it's gonna come to us one way, or whether it comes to us from the select board, or if it comes to us, it's going to come to us at some point. There's gonna be a grassroots effort to get boat storage back somewhere. So we should probably start talking about standards, where and what standards would be related to that. It hasn't happened yet, but I've heard the chatter, and I guarantee you at some point this is gonna come to a select board meeting saying we need to have boat storage somewhere. And well, the way it stands right now is you can't do new boat storage, but if you are an existing marina or existing boat storage place, you could potentially, under the non-conformance clause, expand your boat yard already. So it seems like it would be better to get ahead of it than behind it. So I don't know what the percentage is, but you can expand a certain percentage in a non-conforming use that is approved that's already there. So just something to chew on. Doesn't have to be February 18th.
No, and what about, people bring up a lot about the dark skies thing?
Lights.
Lighting, illumination. We can go through our ordinances. We have things about, you know, the full, whatever they're called, the cutoff, hooded
cutoff,
lights and
yeah.
all of that. I don't know if that's enough. I know there are a lot of documents out there on
Yeah.
how to deal with that.
Let's talk about that. There's, a lot of towns have they require a photometric plan
Yeah.
as part of the site plan, which
And
I
we
think
do.
But what does that look like? Is ours?
I don't know I don't know. I just
Yeah.
feel like, I don't know. I just know it comes up a lot, and I know we have that stuff in there.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's enough, what could be different. I don't know enough about it.
I'll give you an example. Probably one of the most disappointing outcomes in Gray while I was there was the Cumberland Farms. We went to all this effort to, we didn't necessarily want it there, but we have contract zoning, and so the council wanted, it was in a TIF zone, so it sounded like a good idea to get that tax revenue. So they allowed them to do an expansion right in the middle of the village. So we would spend a lot of time on what the signage would look like, what the pitch of the roof, da-da-da-da-da-da. We had a good we thought we had a good photometric requirements, you know, how many foot candles at the border. What we didn't address, we addressed the temperature of the signs on the walls and all of that. The lights underneath the canopy are that
So
blue
bright, yeah.
hue. That even though they meet the letter of the law, it looks like a spaceship ready to take off, right? And so it's just like, so everything else looks good with the nice lighting and the way that it looks and the style and the pinpoint and all that. But then the canopy is all you notice because it's a different color, a different hue, a different tone. Those are the kind of things we need to, now some of it's safety related when it comes to gas stations and fire and all that kind of stuff. Some of it you can't get around, but I feel like we missed a couple things, even though we spent a great deal of time on it. So those are I think as part of the lighting, you know, there's a temperature, there's the hue, there's, if you allow internally illuminated signs, the timing of how fast it can change, that kind of stuff that would be good to add, particularly in site plan is where this is gonna.
But we don't allow animated signs.
Yeah.
So you can't.
So you can't do
like what they have at the, like Campfire Grill sign cannot be
right.
here in Naples.
Right. Or Hal's Gun Shop changes the images all the time, right? So that's, which, I mean, I'll be on, and sometimes it might be appropriate in a very commercial district, but not necessarily here. So yeah, I think that's a good one to talk about, and I haven't even looked at ours really, I just know that there's a foot candle at the property line.
Yeah, and
Seeing
it's really,
Brown
it's on
submitted that.
site plan review, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
on
just
site
having
plan.
to do with something that comes, a business that comes to the
Yeah.
planning board, right? That's the only, so I don't know with these other communities that do this dark skies thing, do their ordinances or regulations expand beyond site plan review? I don't know.
I don't know.
And I don't know if we want to get into that. It's just that for people who are passionate about it, it comes up a lot, so.
And then there's this, in the safety versus the safety consideration too, is, you know, I think I read or heard that Maine is doing that on all public streetlights. I guess there's gonna be some new dark skies thing where it's gonna be darker. And I'm like, I can barely see at night on my way home on some of these streets
I
as the
know.
way that it is.
Right.
So it's just like, I don't know where that.
Yeah, I don't either.
The balance is there.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna do something like that, I wanna make sure that the town's municipal facilities meet those standards, because there's nothing more annoying for me when you're telling everybody that you can't have this light, security
Right.
light, and then you look at the town office and it's got bright lights glaring everywhere.
That's why town projects should come to the planning board too, right? They don't have to, but they should.
Yeah.
Just for review.
Yeah, on that note, yeah, we are going to do courtesy presentation when the rec center gets there to the planning board. I said, you gotta at least let them have a stab at it, you know? Yeah, well, some towns, MDOT and Turnpike are exempt too. It's like,
Yeah.
that's the worst, you know?
Yeah.
You want them to meet those standards too.
I've got one thing I want to mention.
Yeah,
In terms of cutting a new entrance onto a town road,
yeah,
you have to go to the road commissioner, he's got to look at it.
yeah.
Now, when they first passed that, I was under the impression it covered all roads. It doesn't cover private roads, apparently.
No.
No, so now if you have a private road and somebody wants to put an entrance onto it, the road is like this, nobody's forcing them to put a culvert in, you know? So
Yeah.
you see these roads coming, the rain right across the
Right.
road, it freezes in the winter, you get ice there. There should be some requirement for private roads that the entrance to the private road can't contribute to a road hazard.
Yeah, all the towns that I worked for, even if you built a house on a private road, you had to have a driveway permit.
You know,
It
We
was
do,
a-
we do in our association.
you know?
But that's your association.
With our association, not with the town.
Not with
Oh,
the
I see
town.
what you're saying, we should have it with the town?
You should have it, everybody should be forced to do that, all the private roads.
A minimum standard.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Anybody who puts in a driveway has to apply
As
for an
Part
application
of their building permit.
as part of the building.
Oh, I see
thing.
what you're saying, okay.
Like in our
Yeah.
association,
Just to make sure it's done
if
right.
somebody wants to put a driveway down it from their lot,
Yeah,
are we telling them you have to have a culvert here, or you have to do this, or you have to do that? I don't think we do.
The town doesn't, no. Not on
I
private
wonder,
roads.
who's?
Like my driveway.
I know. Did anyone, when you put that in, did anybody, I mean, I know there's a form you have to fill out and give to
No.
to our road commissioner, right?
No.
And they're supposed to,
Well, no,
but
no.
nobody cared whether or not you had a culvert?
Yeah.
Well, we have a new road commissioner, maybe he'll care.
Yeah, I think,
You got a new road commissioner?
Within our association,
I
yeah.
don't know if he
Cool.
has the right to do it.
I don't know. We'll have to look at,
that's
we'll
the
have to look at our
whole-
bylaws.
that's the whole conversation between private roads and whether or not the town wants to get involved with that. But I think in Gray that if you, when you submit a building permit, you have to submit a driveway entrance permit, even if it is on a private road. I mean, it's just
Nobody looks at it.
what's that?
Nobody's gonna come out and look at that and make sure that it's
Yeah.
not gonna
Yeah.
divert water to the side or whatever.
Yeah, but at least, at the very least, you'd have the proper culvert sizing,
Yeah.
you know, as part of the permit.
And
I'll
hopefully-
ask and do a little digging about that, because
Okay.
the whole private road thing is that, you know, it's like, when the town starts getting involved, how much responsibility do they have, you know what I mean? That's the line, you know, now we told them to put in a culvert, it wasn't the right size, now there's a problem, you know. Now, that fund that we're getting, though, if that gets opened, then potentially those funds could be used for
Right.
that type of thing, so.
And you could, as part of the application process, you could just have to have it reviewed by Cumberland County engineer
Yeah,
and look at it. That
that's
could be
true.
part of it
That's
before you
true.
spend the money. I mean, there's ways to control it and make sure that it's done right, and I don't think it all needs to be
Town.
Steve Merkel's responsibility. I mean, there are other people that can help us with that.
Yeah, that will do it for low or no cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something, let me look into that a little bit, though, that's a good question.
But it might not just be a culvert,
Yeah.
because you may need a ditch on the side of the
Yeah.
road at the
Right.
same time.
Right.
Or is it just too steep flat out? It's more than 12% grade, maybe you don't get a driveway there.
Or you
know.
shouldn't have, this actually came up in conversation with the president of the association, who happens to be my husband. Which I was like, sometimes there's horseshoe driveways on these
Yeah,
lots that only have 100 feet of frontage on the
Yeah,
road,
now they have
right?
two
And now you have
places.
2 places where
Yeah.
water's running down, and
Right.
he happened to mention that should have never been approved, but, you know, whatever.
Right,
Because
right,
now you get double,
yeah.
anyway.
plus all the extra impervious that you
Right.
don't really need.
Right.
So it's nice, but you don't need it.
Got one of those on Graham too.
So, yeah.
Do you want to just add that septic system thing too, just for future discussion?
Sure, we can
Marty
talk
and I had
about it.
talked about it a couple times at planning board, just thinking about, the shoreline zoning septic law now on the state, how you have to have it inspected and it needs to pass inspection upon transfer of property. Like, should we maybe consider something like that for all properties? Because Naples is a lakes community with multiple watersheds and aging septic systems abound. So should something exactly like what the state says we need to do for shoreline zoning properties, should we perhaps require that for all properties? First, we were thinking getting more common, like, no, well, there's already a law, there's already a mechanism on how to do it for shoreline, just apply it to everything else, so it's to be discussed too.
Yeah, I know like bigger towns that have impaired streams have already had to do that. Wyndham had to they had to have someone inspect every single septic system, basically, is how it worked. And then if they were failing, they offered low-interest loans to help homeowners replace or repair them. But that's because they've triggered, it's called MS4, I don't know what it stands for, the acronym stands for. So they've triggered the designation that required them to do it because their brook and some of the streams were impaired. Gray hasn't triggered it yet, but they're in the same watershed, and they're almost at that population, so they may end up being in the same boat.
Yeah.
It'll be a long time before Naples gets to that boat, but certainly.
Because that's all
Certainly if you dealt with
population-driven?
it before, it's population driven and designated impacted, things that are definitely already have bad stuff going on. So, something like that could get you ahead of the game.
Well, that's kind of, I
Yeah.
think, good planning
Before there is a
does
problem.
allow you to make some decisions and choices before something becomes a mess.
I guess though, how does the town, I get it when like someone's doing something in the shoreline zone, well, or it's already part of the real estate transaction process, or if someone goes to do something in the shoreline zone, they have to prove the septic that they have is in functioning order, or meets the number of bedrooms and all that. I just don't know what would trigger the town's involvement, or is it just having a statement?
The trigger, it would be, the same thing that triggers it on is the sale of the property.
The sale
That's
of the
all,
property.
just at the sale of the
Sale of the
property. So it
property.
would be exactly a mirror of what's happening now by state statute in the shoreline zone, just apply it to all zones.
So if a property in the shoreline zone sells, they're
They-
required to get it inspected. That happens all outside of the town though. We don't do anything.
But what happened, where does that information go? Who were they proving that to? I'll have to
The
reread.
real estate agent.
I'll have to reread the state
Yeah,
statute. There's
let's
more
look
to
into
it.
it.
Since that law
Yeah.
passed, there's more to it.
They don't come to-
Some proof has to go somewhere.
They'll come to us and look for their septic design, and then they go off, and then the
They
house
hire
sells, and then.
someone to inspect it.
I think,
Yep.
yeah, you did, I think I
But it
might have
doesn't come
saved it
to
in
us
my
to do it.
notes.
I mean,
Well,
it's
I'll
our-
look at it and send
yeah,
it to you,
looking
but there,
at-
yeah, but
it's
it's,
our involvement, I'm just wondering what it has to do with the town, because we're not gonna go out and,
He can't
we're not
inspect.
selling it, we're not selling.
no,
the
you're not
house.
inspecting it. You're
So-
not doing anything other. I thought, the way I read it, and I'll read it again and I'll send
Yeah.
it to you, but I thought, you have to provide proof to somebody. So I thought,
Right, I
I
think
thought
that-
the
If
somebody
you're
was
getting a
the town.
building permit, or you're changing something, or
No,
you're
it's
doing-
just upon transfer of property. It's
Right,
to-
no, I
Who's
know,
gonna
but
have a
for us.
septic permit, here it is, here's a copy of it.
Yeah.
Or here's a copy of Joe Schmo's septic place, and they went and they explored it, and this is the results of the
Yeah.
report.
I just wondering proof of.
Or
when
it's a
would it-
legal document, you can't go to
Yeah.
closing, you can't do the transfer. I
Right.
guess all the people would, if they fudged it, would be at risk of losing their licenses, I don't know.
Yeah, oh, yeah, no,
I mean,
for
that's how,
sure.
I'm trying to think how these
Oh,
things
yeah,
happen in
and
other
it's-
places. I
It can be
mean,
dealt
so-
with in disclosure in real
Right.
estate. Here's the
Yeah.
we just had
Right.
it inspected, it passes whatever the shoreline zoning.
But even if the town, I guess, I'll look
Yeah,
at it, but
look at
even
it.
if the town doesn't get involved with it, the town would have to be the ones to make the ordinance, though, if we wanted to expand it to all other lots, because the
It's not
state
a
does not
state.
require it. The state doesn't care right now.
Does
If
the
you
town
sell a
have-
property with a malfunctioning,
So does the town have the authority to do that?
I
That's
don't-
my question,
yeah.
I guess. The shoreland is a state saying that
Yeah.
thou shalt. So
well,
don't
I mean,
know
the town, according to home rule, I thought we could make anything.
Yeah,
so,
home rules of
yeah.
voting.
We'll bring it back.
Yeah, bring back home rule. So that's what I've got for right
Okay.
now anyway.
All right.
So
Larry,
I
did you have anything else to
Yeah,
add?
if you're going to inspect
Yeah.
the septic system, based on the size of it, you should specify how many bedrooms
Yeah.
can be allowed.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you see these places advertised, it's 3 bedrooms and 2 bonus rooms.
Yeah. It's meaning you can have 5 bedrooms. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we issue permits, it's based on the number of bedrooms, and it has to be it can't be a, but then you got this room that doesn't have a closet, and it's a bonus room, and you know exactly what it's going
What
to be used
defines
for.
a bedroom? A window, a closet, and a door?
Yeah, basically,
Right.
yeah,
I don't know nowadays if the
Oh.
closet one is
Even.
real.
yeah.
Because there was a real estate agent in it, and she said
Oh.
something about if they have like a dresser or an
Yeah.
armoire,
Yeah.
Oh.
that's constituting
A bedroom.
a bedroom because it has a space for you to hold your clothes.
But it
Yeah, but it's
definitely
not
needs
in
a
the
window and a
structure.
door.
Right, you still need the
Yeah.
window, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's always ways to get around it, and that's why advocate the short-term rental thing, where they go out and look at it and say, this is the occupancy, you can't have more than this many people. You've got 2 bedrooms, you can have 4 people, done.
Sleeps 15.
Yeah,
Really? How many
yeah.
septic,
Yeah, I mean,
bedroom
I
septic systems
I
do we
get,
have?
I totally
None.
get it, I get it, I mean, and you rent a lake house for a week,
Yeah.
and you invite your friends over while you rent it, and you know where that, you know what's gonna happen, so.
A big old party?
Yeah.
But anyway, well,
right.
I think that's great, we got a lot
So we're all
done.
done. So it's 10:15 and we'll adjourn?
Awesome.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, LRTV.